from City Lights. And oh geez, I'm losing the name here. Bill and Ryan. Oh my goodness, I'm so stressed out from getting set up. Bill and Ryan from City Lights. Family business, right?
Correct. Yes.
Whose family was it? You said 10 years. It's got to be his family.
It's mine. Yeah.
Did you so first off, man,
can you hear me all right there?
We can hear you good, man.
Right.
We're this has been a crazy last 10 years in lighting, has it not?
A lot of changes coming from all avenues, I would say.
Yeah.
Technology, e-commerce, those I think are the biggest factors.
Yeah. How many years have you guys been in business?
We've been at this location since '89.
Okay.
My father ran electrical wholesale business prior, so similar kind of industry.
Sure.
Wow.
So
your father ran electrical wholesale business for how long?
Gosh, I think he
Mid-70s?
started in something in that range.
Earlier mid-70s, I think.
Wow. Mid-70s. And then you saw that light. There's a couple nailed members that we have that were electrical distributors as well and moved to lighting simply because it seemed to be have better margins, and lighting distributors seem to have better margins than other electrical distributors seem to have. Like, it seems to be more commoditized.
Absolutely.
Whereas lighting has an element to it of interior design and so on. But let's start unpacking some of the challenges. Replacement lamps. We went for a walk in the showroom, and that replacement lamp showroom has been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking.
Yeah, we were unique in a sense, or at least in this area, up until about 2 or 3 years ago. We had a whole light bulb store, so full-on retail shopping space that you could browse, and we carried all the oddball lamps, indicator lights, and odd to find halogen bulbs, and we were kind of the one-stop shop for unique. I've been 3-4 places and can't find this odd light bulb I have, so we were the spot for that until LEDs kind of took over, and then all the California regulations with light bulb restrictions has really hindered our light bulb business specifically.
How do you? Then we could also talk. We often talk about the Republic of California on our show and how it can be more difficult to trade between Nevada and California than Ontario and Nevada. But how do you feel about the disappearance of the replacement light bulb in the fixture? In terms of, it's almost like the life cycle of the light source is longer, but the life cycle of the light fixture is shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we've seen a lot of as we've moved more towards integrated LED fixtures. Most LED fixtures we find, if you can get past that first 6 months to a year without any problems, it's going to last you probably 5, 10, 15 years. We don't even know at this point. But what we don't see, or what we don't expect to see, is that in 15, 20 years, you're going to be able to still use that light, be able to maintain that light, continue to service it. So many houses, so many places in the area have light fixtures from turn of the century that people are still using. That won't be the case with most lights sold from 2010 to
it's a life cycle. It's a life cycle issue.
Yeah,
not a light source issue. It's like the life cycle of the fixture is shorter. You got to replace the whole fixture. So that's an interesting. As a business, we look at that, and you guys have a lot of light fixtures here. Do you feel good about that? Is that a good thing, or is that something that maybe the industry as a whole should step back from and say, maybe we want to reintroduce the replaceable light source?
I think
positive and negative.
That's exactly
ways. That's what I mean. There's nuance there.
Personally, I'm a big fan of the replaceable light bulb because having been in sales for so long and getting asked the questions, what do I do? What do I do when this goes out? Okay, I've had this light 7 years. It's gone out. What do I do? It's like, well, you got to get a new one. So from the customer's perspective, it's a lot more user friendly to be able to have a replaceable, even screw-in light bulb, something like that. From a design perspective, there's so many things that you can do and so many different styles and designs you can make with integrated lamp technology.
That's the challenge,
do with a screw-in, either due to light output from a small base lamp or from just a space perspective of, how can you have something small and sleek and nice if you need to have a base that's 26 millimeters across.
The emergence. I think that we're just scratching the surface, Greg, when it comes to where we're going to go with light sources in terms of putting them into different kinds of fixtures. That company that's a new member, Elemental LED, they're doing some pretty crazy stuff with the flexible and all that. So, I mean, yeah, there's that. But have you guys ever heard of the Jaga Consortium or anything like that?
Not familiar, no.
So what they're trying to do is they're trying to set sizes to form factors in LED boards and arrays and stuff like that so that people will conform to those form factors. And so that's to aid in the manufacturing process. But that's miles away from every light bulb has to be 4 feet long with bipin sockets and BT8 and emit 4100 Kelvin at 32 watts. That's a long way from that, right? I don't know whether it's responsible to have such disposable lighting in the fixture side. Like, are the environmental benefits of it out the window because every time you need to replace it?
To a certain extent, it's kind of become a re-education of the customer on the purchase of almost like an appliance. You know, is your washer and dryer going to need to be replaced in 10 years? Yes. Is your refrigerator going to need to be replaced in that time frame? Most likely. That ideally with an integrated LED fixture, depending on wear and tear and use, going to be in that kind of same range. So not what customers are used to for, you know, lighting fixtures specifically, but with the technology integrated into the fixtures, that's kind of how, you know, we make the correlation with an integrated LED fixture, the lifespan of the light, and that it's more of, you know, an electronic item at that point.
It is a piece of electronics, actually.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Now, to clear something up from my standpoint, you guys are in California. Are you able to sell a replaceable incandescent socketed fixture?
Yes. The trick is getting the lamps and the light bulbs shipped here.
Yeah. So Title 24, 2016 reintroduced being able to use a medium base screw-in light bulb or a state-approved bipin MR16. So that loosened the restrictions as far as what you could and couldn't do. It was heading the direction of only integrated LED, and then they took a step back and realized that's just not very consumer friendly.
It's also crude.
It is. So
it's a crude regulation.
It was getting that way. So they
that's a better way to exactly.
Which was great. And what they allowed was you to use, you know, medium base lamps and candelabra lamps in wall mounted and ceiling mounted fixtures, not recessed, but wall and ceiling mounted luminaires, as long as the lamping that was used was JA8 Title 24 compliant. So it had
sounds complicated.
It is. And so California has this running list of all approved light bulbs that you can use. And if it's on that list, which you can find on the California Energy Commission website, then you can use that and pass inspection. And so that's kind of helped revitalize a lot of fixtures that were always off the table for so long and bring them back. The downside is that a lot of, Bill can attest, a lot of bulb manufacturers aren't making attractive lamps. So when you have a seated glass outdoor wall sconce or clear glass tube, you don't want to see a bulky white plastic LED lamp sitting in it. You need to try to find attractive LED lamps.
So you can put incandescent lamps in?
Not incandescent. They have to be LED.
And
so to get on that list, it's got to conform to a bunch of different energy requirements and lumens per watt and flicker, minimal flicker. It has to be able to dim on a standard dimmer, so you can't have a proprietary dimming system to control it. What are some other?
We're at the point where we can't even really get incandescent lamps shipped to us. Period anymore, or they're not legal for us to sell. So and we don't cross that boundary.
So if somebody in California wants incandescent, we
can sell the back stock from what we have, from what I understand.
Correct, but once it's gone, we can't.
It's dwindling every single day. But
who keeps track of the back stock? You can just keep that in your backstock.
Come on, Greg. Yeah,
Well, we did.
What are you, like the Al
trying to
Capone of light bulbs now?
We,
Need some
we
incandescents?
found GE was discontinuing their constant color series.
Oh, we just
so
saw those in the back.
I got a
What
couple
beautiful
pallets of those.
MR16 bulbs those were, man. Or are. They're beautiful, man.
Right.
Beautiful.
Right.
The things you could do with MR16s, you still can't do with LED.
No, not as even as far along as the technology's come. It's still not there to where how
Yeah.
halogen was with,
Yeah.
with
And
MR16s.
that's the lamp that every LED is trying to mimic.
Sure.
Maybe one day it'll get there.
So are you guys a lighting distributor? Or are you a lighting showroom? Or are you
They're both, man.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
we're kind of a hybrid
Sure.
here.
Okay.
I mean, of course, we're a wholesale retail operation, but mainly project based, larger project, not so much retail
Sure.
any longer. We've had to shift our business focus quite a bit over the last few years.
I like everybody else in the business.
Sure.
Come on. So, you know what's interesting? I often pontificate about California because I'm from Ontario. So Ontario, like, California's economy is bigger than Canada's. Okay, I think it's the 6th biggest economy in the world. So it goes like America, China, Germany, England, France, California, Canada. Right? Like that. It's a massive economy. It's huge. So it flexes a lot of muscles and that sort of stuff. But in a sense, it's a very rich place. And Ontario is kind of similar in that in terms of Canada. It's very wealthy. Like if Ontario were its own country, it would probably be the richest country in the world. Seriously, it has everything: trees, gold, everything you can imagine. Water, all the minerals, everything. Banking systems, universities. But it's like Ontario pays all the early adopter lessons for Canada.
Yeah, that sounds similar to what we
It's like Ontario is a clean energy jurisdiction. So only like 5% of our energy comes from either non-nuclear or renewable. Like our energy is all nuclear. Doesn't like the carbon intensity of Ontario's energy is like second only to Quebec, right? And after that, and there's not a lot of jurisdictions, but we pay very large price as Ontarians for that. And I think Californians are doing the same thing. They're paying this price, excuse me. And a lot of times the politicians who are well-intentioned, they're well-intentioned, right? But they come up with very crude laws. So, excuse me, I can't sell a par 30 in Ontario, a 75 par 30. You guys know what I'm talking about.
We haven't been able to for 5+ years.
Yeah, 5 years or so. It's probably like Ontario and California, probably copycats. But it's like I can make more bulbs illegal than you. But then people are doing this. People from Manitoba and Quebec and Michigan are selling par 30s into Ontario because there's no light bulb police.
Right.
Checking things at the federal, like the Canadian border does not have a light bulb police at it.
Yeah. So, from my opinion, it's
touch on Title 20, how that even made things more difficult.
So, backing up real quick, it's a double-edged sword because it sucks. It makes quality of life a lot harder. It makes it a lot more expensive to build in this state. Makes it a lot more expensive. It becomes almost prohibitive for people who aren't wealthy to be able to remodel their home to code. You find a lot of people that just do upgrades as opposed to remodels because if you can't afford all the stuff required to go into a full remodel with permits, you just don't.
Everything's a renovation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, it works. California's population is like quintupled since the 70s when this started, and its energy consumption is almost flatlined. So since then, you have to take the pros with the cons of, yeah, it sucks. It's hard to work around. It's expensive. It's not really fair to anyone. We are kind of the guinea pigs for a lot of new technology.
Sure.
But it's working.
Someone's got to lead the way, I guess. If it depends on what your priorities are.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of different priorities there.
Are you guys selling? Is it more residential or commercial than or some of both, percentage-wise?
Mainly residential.
Mostly.
Our commercials is light commercial projects or quite a few restaurant projects.
When you say residential, do you mean multi-residential high-rise? Or you mean people's homes?
No, medium to high-end residential single-family homes.
Oh, wow.
That's the core of our business.
Including the lamp supply side.
Yes.
And that was the case before LED?
Prior, we had a lot of maintenance companies
Sure.
come through or building facility managers. We had quite a few house accounts that were our larger customer base, light bulbs specifically. But
or you're shipping and invoicing.
or
like
they would
that.
pick up here, and just
Okay.
because we had a pretty big back stock, so we had items readily available to go in the warehouse.
Okay.
But probably about 3 or 4 years ago, there was a big wave of energy retrofits that the state and city were subsidizing. I was even involved in a business of that nature. So a lot of, depending on existing lightings in large commercial buildings or retail shops, we could usually almost do the job for free, no out-of-pocket cost to the client to retrofit, all their T8s to, LED T8s, or all their PARs to, or halogen PARs or MR16s to LED versions. And as that's continued, it's pretty much dried up and gone now. But that's when we saw a big drop off in that business for us, for just the everyday or maintenance facility guys coming in, and or retail stores that were open 14, 18 hours with a couple hundred par lamps, and now with their LEDs, they only need them every couple years, or less than that.
So my jurisdiction has had rebates continuously since 2003. So I'd like to stand up and say, my name is Michael Colligan and I'm a rebate addict. Okay, because like it definitely, once that enters the world, it's like the eye of Sauron. Everybody focuses on it right away, and it becomes all your businesses towards those government rebates. And then what happens? I think we forgot how to sell light bulbs, like without a rebate.
No, yeah, you're right. When you do it, it's almost weird when you do it without a rebate. You look at it and say, "Well, there's no rebate. Are they going to buy it?" They
This
can't
is
buy
too
without
easy.
a rebate.
What are you talking about? Why would you do that?
Where's that rebate line?
Why would you buy light bulbs without a rebate? It's like, oh, yeah, people need to buy light bulbs, right? So tell me about the online issues, guys. Who wants to take that one, Ryan? Or
Leave
Bill?
that to Ryan.
So online,
That's some pressure there, man.
online has been, I can't even say a challenge. We had dipped our toe into the online marketplace, 2009, 2010?
In that range, yes.
And completely revamped our website, which was really more of a kind of just an informational page at the time.
Your address, your phone
address,
number.
hours, exactly. I think
Picture you.
not at that time. And so we totally revamped it, went a little more into e-commerce, and tried to do like a whole back end refresh, and it didn't really go anywhere. I should say we would get how many orders a month? Not that many.
No, we didn't market it very well. In regards to light bulbs, I think the bigger issue came when someone would come in with a printout from 1000bulbs.com for a
Who are those
par
guys?
lamp.
Never heard of those guys.
Right, and it would be below.
Kim, we're gonna get you back in a nail, by the way.
It'd be below my cost.
But
Yeah.
aren't a lot of
directly,
decorative fixtures, especially, don't they give you is it MAP pricing, minimum advertised pricing, or whatever, online, and that's what you have to sell it for? Or minimum.
Yeah, if you're selling it online, that's what you can do. But in the showroom, we can do whatever we want. So what we found was that a lot of people were going on our website, finding stuff, printing them out, coming in, saying, "Hey, I want to order it," and then we can beat our own price in that case, just so we don't look like just another fish in the pond, so to speak, with all the other e-commerce. And so
hard to differentiate there. It's all price based.
Yeah. So earlier this year and last year, beginning of this year, we actually ended up scrapping entirely and completely redoing our website and getting rid of any e-commerce at all, and focusing more on our business as who we are and the services that we offer and the products we have on display, and our knowledge and expertise, our ability to put together, complex systems, lighting control systems, downlight rail systems.
That's where I wanted to go next, is with the lighting controls.
That's become our niche, is the more complex home systems.
And I just to chime in on that too, there's something about actually physically seeing a light versus
totally,
like this.
Man.
This is so much better to me. I get it versus looking on a cut sheet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to go up and see it,
especially if you're selling it to people's homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're doing like a multi-residential high-rise and it's low-end rental, the guy's
price driven.
Price driven, right? If somebody, if somebody's, I went down to City Lights and I saw these beautiful, whatever, antique, whatever, country modern, like all these words that I don't really, as a light bulb jockey, don't know that much about, but yeah, people get into it, right? You need to
Yeah.
see it. You want to touch the material it's made of in this. I think that's a wise move.
Right.
So do you guys have lighting designers on staff too?
I
Like, not official, but
not
yeah.
officially.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would like to consider the majority of my tenured sales staff lighting designers per se. And
It's a loose word.
very,
Yes.
very much so.
Yeah, pretty much everybody here is ALA lighting specialist certified. You know,
Sure.
we're for the most part we know what we're doing. I like to think.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
More so than most of the lighting designers we run across.
Yeah, we do a lot
times,
of
so.
the lighting designers' jobs for them.
What's funny is that I would say that one of the words that's thrown around sometimes by distributors is value engineering, or engineering a package, simply because sometimes the product knowledge is the lighting design. Like, you know what I mean? Knowing what products are out there, what available, and if they're within a budget is almost 90% of the lighting design.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you guys, the pressure from online actually pushed you away from it.
I think it was our best way to differentiate ourselves
Sure.
from them. And as well, I don't know of any of the e-commerce sites that are going to give you any sort of technical knowledge, any sort of hand-holding of putting anything together other than, I like what that looks like, I'm going to click buy, and if I don't like it, I'll send it back. That's about the extent of the service that you get from a lot of online retailers. We can offer so much more.
So in terms of controls, are you guys, when you're doing a residential home, are you always specifying controls, or is it always just talked about, or just let them decide if they want to ask about it?
It really depends. We definitely push a lot of controls. I'd say most, bottom up designs will have our hands in the controls. The only time we don't is if the end user or the designer is purchasing the material and the electrical contractor they're the ones who want to specify and purchase the controls, and if they shop somewhere else, that would be the only time that I think we're not.
We have a core base of strong or high-end electrical contractors that
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
mainly only touch lighting controls and recessed lights and general electrical, but they don't get into buying decorative packages. But they'll, we're talking the 25, 50,000 square foot homes down in Atherton, Palo Alto, and South Bay, where.
What is a 50,000 square foot home?
I don't know myself, but
Stores.
we have some electricians that work on some pretty fun, high profile projects. A lot of NDAs involved. We're not even sure.
It is California.
Who the customer is. Correct.
50,000 square foot home.
I gotta think with decorative fixtures, we have to deal with a little bit in my business. I'm not good at it by any means. Here's some websites. Tell me what looks good to you.
Sure.
Issue is a lot of times, you have a owner's preference on light color, and if you're going to do a built-in fixture, you better make sure you have the right color. Otherwise, you're screwed. So are you guys doing a lot of color tunable or color selectable? Is that becoming more popular?
That's where they're not so much into the decorative fixtures, but downlights and bulbs, as you guys know full well. That's where we've seen it become almost now an everyday item.
But don't you think it would make more sense than the decorative? Like, that's an expensive fixture. You get all that, and now you get the wrong color?
Yeah, I think it's like a price concern on the manufacturers, and that just with it being integrated LED already, just a warm dim option. I think eventually we'll see that come more into play. We're really seeing it only in task oriented or recessed lighting.
I think
I've seen some great warm dim recessed lighting.
Yeah, with warm
fantastic.
We're seeing a lot more, and the prices are getting really killer, and the quality is getting really good.
Yeah.
With decorative lights, we've got some stuff on display that's like Hue connected, and we've got Pure Edge Lighting does some tunable white, vanity fixtures and things that they look great, they function great, but the price point it makes them a little more out of reach to most people than they'd want to be.
So how do you decide that? Then do you have somebody come in and actually point at the color they want?
27K or 3,000 seems
most
to
common.
be,
You know what? I just this. I got to do a GIF of this. Because we've interviewed at least half a dozen scientists that are study color,
Mhm.
right? So did you know that the sun is actually blue?
Oh yeah.
Like the sunlight is blue. Sunlight is blue. Like it looks yellow, but it's actually
5,000K.
no,
Yeah,
it's
or 50 or
6,500K.
6,500K
65
is,
or
yeah.
something.
like it's blue.
Full spectrum, right?
It's blue, and it's like, you mean that's not blue? It's yellow. No, it only looks yellow because of this, and it's an illusion. It's like,
It's one of the biggest headbanging against the tables when people come in. All right, I'm redoing my closet or my bathroom. I want natural light. It's like,
Okay,
great,
thanks,
we
man.
got you.
Which
Cool.
one's
Right at the
natural?
table. We
6500
got to do a gif
Kelvin.
of that. Eh? Like just a
No,
gif.
no, I want really warm. Like, well, that's not natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. No, it's
Natural to
as
me.
artificial as it gets.
Point at the one you want. Which one do you want?
You won't
Yeah,
be
you
able to
gotta
see.
do
in
What's the best
video,
color
but
temperature? The
kind of
one the
behind-
person wants.
behind you guys there, we have a range of undercab lights that kind of give the full
Oh,
gamut.
Yeah, there you go,
27,
yeah.
3,000, 35,
So-
4,000.
One of them's a warm dim option, so we can kind of demonstrate for the customers, or what the difference is, and they can see their skin tone underneath.
I want it to be daylight, man.
right?
I'm in the process of remodeling one of my bathrooms and putting 3,500 Kelvin at the vanity. And
Neutral.
everyone's like, "What are you doing?" It's like,
Neutral.
trust me, it's not as white as it gets, but you don't want to look like you're covered in mud.
You know what? I'll tell you
Oh,
this,
man.
man. Everybody looks better with the warm dim. That's why when you're in a nightclub and they dim the lights down low to a really warm Kelvin temperature, everybody looks better in firelight
Yeah.
and candlelight. They just look better. It brings out the I don't know what it is. So I think there's something to that. I also think that there's something to the color of fire at night that is relaxing to humans. I think
Sure.
I've asked every scientist we've talked to, I said, come on, man, HPS and the color of fire, that's not a coincidence. Those two things are the same color. And everybody went HPS on all the outdoor lighting and not metal halide. Why did they make that choice? I think there's something to do with the low Kelvin temperature at night. There's something going on with infrared heat coming out of it. There's something that tells humans that this is a safe spot. This is a calm spot. This is where you go to sleep at night.
I think that's why the nostalgic craze never really wore off. I
Yeah,
was
sure.
expecting that to kind of be a fad when they first came around, and regulations here specifically, and us having to only use
You're talking about
LED
vintage Edison
style,
kind of stuff.
correct?
Yeah.
Those were the hot commodity, and still are, and would be more so if we could still get the incandescent versions for mainly restaurant spaces.
Sure.
One
Well, some
thing-
of the LED versions of that, there's a lot of blinking going on with those.
Yeah, they don't work well with dimmers.
No.
The ones that do, they have to have it. It takes away from the aesthetic because they have to add that extra. I'm going to call it a driver, but there's that extra white piece on there, that some additional electronics to get it to function.
I took them out of
properly.
my house and put it in incandescent. So sorry,
there you
folks.
go.
There you go.
Back to your previous point, and not to get too far off topic, but I found as well when it comes to color temperature and how we say that nice warm soft 1800 Kelvin is so nice, and I agree, but I found it to be very cultural as well, that you get a lot of people from Asia and Middle East, they want 5000 Kelvin because you go into a restaurant, like the dining areas are lit 5000 6500 Kelvin, and in home countries that's what the light is like, and that's what they prefer.
I had an electrician. So Toronto's a very diverse city. Okay. So I had an electrician who was from Pakistan. He came to Canada. He transferred his qualifications with us, and he became an electrician in Ontario. So it took, 3 years or something to do the transfer. He wanted to put a 4-lamp T5 5000K in his living room. I'm not kidding you. He said, could I take this and put it in my living room?
To each their own.
Lighting's very, very personal, man.
Yes, absolutely.
It's very personal. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely a difference culturally.
I teach a class at the Academy of Art in lighting design, and there's a lot of international students there.
How dare you?
I know. And a lot of the international students, they want to put fluorescents in their living rooms and in their bedrooms, and to me it's like, no, you can't do that. But
they can.
They absolutely can. But
yeah,
the design part of me is like, what are you doing?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you don't like it, but maybe it is cultural. Maybe, who knows? Lighting's very personal. Like we said, the color temperature is the one the person likes best.
You're right.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, thank you for coming on, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, even though you don't sell online, why don't you throw your website out there for the people that are listening?
www.citylightssf.com. City plural, like San Francisco.
.com, baby. That's .com. And folks, if you're listening to this, we have a great vendor that we want to tell you about. It's Keystone Technologies. Greg, go to KEYSTONETECH.com, baby. That's KeystoneTech.com. And I know, Scott, you got more to go. Folks, thanks for listening. This has been Get a Grip on Lighting live from San Francisco, CityLightsSF.com.
Bye, everybody.